I did something that should not have been done. And by direct consequence of that decision, I sit here now and my world is destroyed. My oaths broken, with my legacy one of misery and treachery.
Within the vast grim darkness of the Warhammer 40K verse, the 20 Primarchs stand as demigods, sons of the Emperor of Mankind, each a paragon of war and leadership, genetically engineered to conquer the galaxy in his name. Among these legendary figures, one name resonates with a unique, terrible power: Horus Lupercal. The War Master, first among equals, beloved son, and ultimately, the architect of the galaxy's most devastating civil war. The question of his strength, specifically where he was the strongest of his brethren, is a subject of enduring debate among scholars and enthusiasts alike. To properly address this, one must delve into the multifaceted nature of their power, examining not just their raw physical might, but also their strategic genius, charisma, versatility, and the influence they wielded, both before and after the shadow of the heresy fell. Greetings all, I'm your guide, the Archivist. Today I will dive into why Horus could be considered the strongest Primarch. Before we begin, please make sure to like and subscribe waypoints, or join to become an acolyte down below, so that more people can learn from the archives. Defining strength when discussing beings of the Primarch's caliber is inherently complex. It was not merely a measure of who could lift the heaviest object or strike the hardest blow, though these were certainly factors. Strength encompassed leadership qualities that could rally millions, tactical brilliance that could outmaneuver entire star fleets, personal combat prowess unmatched by any mortal, and an innate charisma that could inspire unwavering loyalty or insidious treachery. When the Emperor elevated Horus to the rank of War Master, granting him supreme command of the Great Crusade's military forces, it was a decision predicated on perceived overall excellence. A synthesis of these various attributes that the Master of Mankind believed made Horus uniquely suited to the role. This appointment itself is a significant piece of evidence in favour of his preeminence. Horus Lupercal possessed a combination of abilities that few, if any, of his brothers could match in totality. Physically, he was undeniably formidable, though perhaps not possessing the sheer brutal mass of a Primarch like Angron or Mortarion, or the adamantium hard resilience of Ferrus Manus. Horus was depicted as a master combatant, possessing incredible speed, deadly precision, and devastating power. Accounts of his martial skill highlight his adaptability and grace, capable of facing down a myriad of foes with lethal efficiency. His personal weapon, the clawed power weapon known as the Talon of Horus, and later the potent Power Maw World Breaker, were tools wielded with peerless skill, capable of tearing apart even the most heavily armoured opposition. The details of his duels, though often shrouded in legend, consistently portray him as a near unbeatable force on the battlefield. Beyond physical might, Horus's strategic and tactical mind was considered exceptional. While Primarchs like Rabute Gilliman might have surpassed him in logistical detail and long-term strategy planning, focused on building an empire, and Lionel Johnson might have possessed a colder, more intricate tactical cunning, Horus excelled in the grand sweeping campaigns that defined the Great Crusade. He possessed an intuitive understanding of warfare on a galactic scale, coordinating disparate legions and Mechanicus contingents with remarkable effectiveness. His battle plans were often audacious, relying on swift, decisive strikes, and a deep understanding of both enemy weaknesses and the strengths of the forces under his command. He was not merely a general, he embodied the spirit of the Crusade's relentless advance. Furthermore, Horus's charisma was perhaps his most defining characteristic. Of all the Primarchs, he was consistently portrayed as the most relatable, the most likable, the brother who could bridge the gaps between the often stark personalities of his siblings. He possessed a warmth, an empathy, and a silver tongue that allowed him to forge strong bonds and mediate disputes. This ability to connect with and inspire not only his own Lunar Wolves, but the officers and the Astartes of other legions was a crucial factor in his selection as War Master. It was that same charisma, twisted by the ruinous powers, that allowed him to sow dissent and ultimately led half his brothers into open rebellion. The details of his interactions with his brothers reveal a master manipulator, someone who understood their desires, their insecurities, and how to exploit them. This psychological and political strength was arguably as potent as any physical blow. When comparing Horus to other potential contenders for the title of strongest, the limitations of a simple ranking become apparent. Was Angron stronger in pure unadulterated rage and destructive power? Unquestionably in a berserk frenzy. Was Magnus the Red infinitely more powerful in his psychic arts? Without a doubt, his command of the warp dwarfed Horus's nascent abilities. Was Guilliman a superior architect of empire and logistics? His post-heresy Imperium Secundus provides ample evidence of this. Was Sanguinius more inspiring, a living embodiment of angelic nobility and martial grace? His presence on the battlefield certainly suggests so. However, none of these Primarchs possessed the totality in strength that Horus did, at least not to the same degree across the board. Angron lacked the strategic depth and leadership needed for large-scale command. Magnus's powers came with dangerous baggage and a fundamental misunderstanding of the galaxy's perils. Guilliman, for all his brilliance, could be perceived as rigid and less inspiring on a personal level than Horus. Sanguinius, while beloved and potent, did not possess the same breadth of strategic command experience or the same political deftness that Horus demonstrated before his fall. Horus, prior to his corruption, represented the Emperor's ideal synthesis: a formidable warrior, a brilliant commander, and a charismatic leader capable of uniting the diverse forces of the Great Crusade. It was this balanced excellence, the versatility mastered of multiple domains of strength, this versatile mastery of multiple domains of strength that led to his elevation. The Emperor saw in him the capability to not only conquer, but also to lead and govern, to embody the future of his Imperium. The question becomes even more complex when considering the period of the Horus heresy itself. As Horus fell under the sway of chaos, his powers were augmented to terrifying degrees. The War Master became a vessel for the malevolent energies of the warp, his physical form infused with dark power, his psychic potential unlocked and amplified, and his charisma warped into a seductive, corrupting influence. In his final confrontation with the Emperor aboard the Vengeful Spirit, the War Master was undeniably operating at a level of power far exceeding the pre-heresy capabilities. He was a creature of pure unfettered chaos, a being whose strength was now drawn from the very fabric of damnation. In this state, he was capable of inflicting grievous wounds on the Emperor himself, a feat no other being in the galaxy's history has been shown to replicate with such devastating effect. However, was this Horus's strength, or the strength lent to him by the ruinous powers? This is a crucial detail. While his inherent capabilities formed the foundation, the scale of his power during the heresy's climax was a manifestation of external dark forces. This amplified state made him arguably the most dangerous Primarch, the single greatest threat the Imperium had ever faced in direct confrontation. But it doesn't necessarily mean his inherent, unaugmented strength surpassed every single one of his brothers in every single category. In conclusion, the assertion that Horus Lupercal was the strongest Primarch is a statement that requires careful qualification. If strength is defined as the most balanced and versatile combination of leadership, strategic acumen and physical prowess, and charisma prior to the corrupting influence of chaos, then the evidence strongly suggests that Horus was indeed positioned as the foremost amongst his brothers, the one perhaps best equipped to lead the totality of the Great Crusade's forces. The details of his record as War Master, his relationships with other legions, and his unparalleled success speak volumes. However, his strength is measured purely in terms of specific areas: psychic power, raw physical resilience, logistical genius, or inspiring purity, then other Primarchs might hold individual claims to superiority. The tragic fall of Horus and his immense inherent potential and balanced capabilities were ultimately twisted and amplified by forces beyond mortal comprehension, turning him into a weapon of such devastating power that only the Emperor himself could stand against him. He may not have been the absolute strongest in every isolated trait, Pear's unique synthesis of abilities, combined with his pivotal role and the dark empowerment he received, unquestionably made him the most formidable and destructive figure among the sons of the Emperor during the climax of the heresy. The War Master whose fall casts a shadow that defines the Warhammer 40K verse to this day. The debate regarding his ultimate ranking may continue, but the details of his history solidify his place as arguably the most significant and, in his corrupted state, the most dangerous Primarch the galaxy has ever known. And so I've now covered the content for this video, but if there's anything that has been missed, please share them in the comments down below. If you enjoyed this content, please like the like and subscribe waypoints, or join to become an acolyte down below, so that more people can learn from the archives.
In the grim dark of the far future, there is only war.